have Crawford jumping up 2 weight classes to fight Canelo, who's a natural light heavyweight? Crawford, who couldn't push back Madrimov? Life and death with Madrimov. What do you think Canelo's gonna do to him? Run him out of the ring!
Oscar De La Hoya's change of heart has sparked heated debate just months before one of the biggest fights in recent boxing history. In a recent interview, De La Hoya admitted that even though he had picked Crawford to beat Canelo, he now sees it as an impossible outcome. However, Crawford himself has slammed De La Hoya's prediction, assuring his easy victory.
Canelo, and he fights at 168 plus, so I don't see me and him fighting, so...
What's the highest you could fight at realistically?
I would say 154 realistic.
154.
You know,
So
them boys get big up there. Them boys get big up there. And I'm not a person to, toot my own horn too.
Initially siding with Terence Crawford, De La Hoya was emphatic that Crawford would win, even confidently stating that Crawford would beat Canelo anytime. At the time, De La Hoya described Crawford not as a small fighter moving up, but as a naturally big athlete who could compete at 168 pounds if he wanted to. This was a vote of confidence in Crawford's adaptability, strength, and ring IQ. It was also an echo of the boxing cliche that a good big man beats a good little man. Except in this case, De La Hoya argued that Crawford was no little man. But in a sudden reversal, De La Hoya now insists the fight is a mismatch in Canelo's favor, downplaying Crawford's threat and calling it almost like a no contest.
The main cards, it will be 4 fights. And we will have Canelo Crawford and the co-main event and 2 fights. One of them is Gerald and Miller, if we finish it. Then there is another card start earlier for free for everywhere. We are thinking to put around from 6 to 10 fights for talent.
Terence Crawford wasn't about to let the U-turn go unchecked. Calm but pointed in his response, Crawford called out De La Hoya's inconsistency. One minute he says this about Canelo, next minute he says that, he noted. The fight itself, scheduled for September 13th, is not just a super fight in terms of names or belts. It carries historic implications. If Crawford manages to defeat Canelo and become undisputed in a 3rd weight class, it will be a first in the history of men's boxing. Not even the legends, Sugar Ray Leonard, Roy Jones Jr., or Floyd Mayweather, have done that. Crawford's legacy is already cemented in certain circles, but a win over Canelo would lift him into rarefied air, putting him on a level few fighters ever reach. And yet, despite the accolades and technical brilliance he's shown across weight classes, there remains skepticism, most notably surrounding his resume.
I'm all about making history. I was the first 2-time undisputed champion of the world. I can assure you, first 3-time undisputed champion.
Eddie Hearn pointed out this very concern. Hearn acknowledged Crawford's greatness, but lamented that Bud hasn't had the big fights against the greats in their primes. It wasn't a jab so much as an observation on the boxing ecosystem that failed to deliver Crawford marquee names in their peak years. According to Hearn, Crawford's best wins, like against Ricky Burns, while respectable, pale in comparison to the names and resumes associated with Canelo Alvarez. Even Crawford's dominant victories against the likes of Kell Brook, Amir Khan, and Errol Spence Jr. come with caveats. Brook and Khan were perceived by many as faded versions of themselves when they fought Crawford. Spence, too, had question marks following the car crash and subsequent long layoff before his fight with Crawford.
if Canelo couldn't knock out Charlo, or you really think that he's gonna knock out Crawford? I would pick Terence Crawford to beat a Canelo Alvarez, even at 168. Everybody can call me crazy and whatever you want to say. I get it. Y'all didn't believe me when I told you about Spence, but trust me, Crawford will figure out a way. I know a secret y'all don't know, and I ain't gonna tell you why I would pick Terence Crawford, but it's part of the secret is the reason why I'm picking him to win the fight. So
On the other side, Canelo's resume is extensive and packed with big names. Floyd Mayweather, Gennady Golovkin, Sergey Kovalev, Miguel Cotto, and Caleb Plant, among others. He's fought across weight classes, chasing belts and chasing greatness. Some of those wins, like over Golovkin and Kovalev, came with their own context, age, timing, or controversy, but nonetheless, Canelo has consistently taken on top-tier competition. That is partly why figures like De La Hoya and Hearn, despite past issues with the Mexican superstar, can lean into the argument that the fight favors him. Canelo isn't just bigger, he's seasoned in the biggest moments against elite competition.
I say before, he's a great fighter. But if you look at his career, mention one elite fighter. Just mention me one elite fighter.
So Poster wasn't elite?
Who?
And yet not everyone sees the fight as such a mismatch. For many fans and observers, the technical ability of Terence Crawford is the great equalizer. Crawford's footwork, ring generalship, ability to switch stances, and uncanny timing make him one of the most dangerous fighters in the world. Against Spence, Crawford didn't just win, he dominated. He made a world-class fighter look like an amateur at times, displaying a level of patience, accuracy, and composure that few boxers possess. The challenge in moving up to super middleweight is undeniable, but for some, the stylistic clash could neutralize size. Crawford doesn't get hit often, he doesn't waste energy. If he can handle Canelo's power, the rest of the fight could tilt in his favor based on pure skill and intelligence.
Do you think this fight does more for your career than fighting David Benavidez?
You can see the career of Terence Crawford Benavidez. Terence Crawford is undisputed champion in 2 weight classes, many championship fights. So he bring me something to the table.
Still, Oscar De La Hoya's pivot invites speculation. Some wonder whether his newfound support for Canelo has more to do with promotional politics or a recalibration of risk. De La Hoya has been both an ally and critic of Canelo over the years, especially after their split when Canelo left Golden Boy Promotions. Their falling out was messy and public. But now, with the Saudi boxing boom reshaping the power structure in the sport, it seems even old tensions are softening under the influence of money and spectacle. Saudi advisor Turki Al-Sheikh, who has emerged as the kingmaker behind many of the sport's biggest events in recent months, appears to be uniting names across promotional lines for these megacards.
It's cool. Well,
Is there a champion?
I'm going to fight another elite
There is
fighter
a
in
champions,
September.
good fighters, but elite fighters is different. Wait.
So I'm going to fight an elite fighter in September.
Yeah, okay.
Then we're
We're gonna find out.
Then we're going
We're
to
gonna
find
find
out.
out.
Then we're gonna
And
find
don't
out.
get me wrong, you're a great fighter.
I know I'm great.
You're a great
You ain't
fighter.
gotta tell
But
me
you're
I'm
gonna
great.
find out. I hope
But I'm talking about
your
elite.
uncle Turki Al-Sheikh pay you enough money because it's gonna be the last. That's
It
for
may
sure.
be. It may be. Maybe.
I hope he pay you enough.
But you know, after fighters fight me, they never the same. So
Al-Sheikh's role in orchestrating the Canelo Crawford event is substantial. He reportedly met with Crawford before the official announcement, and Crawford revealed to him that this might be his final fight. That revelation, that the undefeated champion is considering retirement after this bout, adds an emotional gravity to the event. Crawford didn't demand a rematch clause, and it's still unclear whether Canelo's team insisted on one. That kind of finality suggests Crawford is treating this as a legacy-defining moment, one that will either complete his career narrative or end with heartbreak. Fighters don't always get to choose their exits, but in Crawford's case, it seems deliberate. To walk away on top, with history in hand, would be the perfect closer to a career that's often been overshadowed by industry politics.
Everything is on Terence Crawford's side, all the legacy, meaning he only has the opportunity to win the belts. Saul only has an opportunity to defend them. Terence Crawford has an opportunity to be in a 5 division and the only person to win all 4 belts in 3 separate weight divisions. Why is Saul taking this fight? And I'm going to tell you why. Because there's some things in life more important than just the belts. And that 20-year career that Terence Crawford made, that all that he has, is very valuable. Very, very valuable. He had 1 foot out the game.
The fight also has a financial wrinkle that could impact the intensity in the ring. According to Al-Sheikh, there will be knockout bonuses on the line, not just in this fight, but in others moving forward. It's an idea borrowed from MMA and gaming culture, but now being applied in top-tier boxing. The timing is interesting, especially after Canelo's uneventful win over William Skull, which some viewed as dull and uninspiring. If knockout incentives push fighters to be more aggressive, it could change the dynamic of high-level chess matches into high-risk, high-reward encounters. For Crawford, who has a high knockout rate for a technician, the incentive might align with his natural finishing instincts. For Canelo, a known power puncher with a granite chin, it could fuel an early blitz to test Crawford's ability to take punishment at 168 pounds.
You need to put a small ring, the smaller ring in the...
The only, hey Matt. Yeah. The only running that I'm gonna be doing is running upside his head, and I can assure you that. Facts. And he got a big head too.
Carl Froch, never one to hold back on his thoughts, gave his full take on the Canelo versus Crawford fight during an interview with Foot Italia, and his perspective offers a notable contrast to the current shift among some analysts toward favoring Canelo. Froch didn't hesitate to highlight Crawford's ability to adapt and his often overlooked size, stating, "That's a good fight. Crawford's bigger than you think. I just think that size matters, and he probably is bigger than the weight division he's been campaigning at. I think he'll grow into it. I think he'll get some bulk on him and he'll be comfortable in the ring." Froch isn't alone in this view, but his confidence in Crawford's ability to scale up without compromising his style is what sets his analysis apart. He's not focused on the risks of moving up 3 divisions, but instead sees an opportunity for Crawford to showcase just how versatile and skilled he really is.
It would be a disappointment if this did normal boxing numbers, you know, and let's be real, you know what Jake Paul is gonna say. He already shitted on this fight. Don't let the numbers not come anywhere close to his numbers with Tyson, and it's gonna be all bad. Would it even matter if Bud and Canelo didn't do the numbers of Jake and Tyson? Or is that an indictment on the sport that, it's just showing what our fan base prefers, right?
Froch emphasized the tools Crawford brings to the table, his skill set, his adaptability, and his mindset. He's extremely talented, very skillful. He's certainly got the ability to beat anybody he gets in the ring with. I'd probably pick Crawford to beat Canelo, Froch said, and it wasn't a casual statement. Coming from a man who fought the likes of Andre Ward, Mikkel Kessler, and George Groves, that kind of endorsement carries weight. Froch wasn't selling hype. He was laying out his view that the current version of Canelo might not have enough left in the tank to deal with someone like Crawford.
The others say, no, that's 2 more weight classes. Once he gets touched by Canelo, it's going to be different.
I am concerned about him absorbing a Canelo punch, especially through the course of 12 rounds. We do know this about Canelo. He's going to slow down. So I think if anything, Canelo would try to start fast and bang on him and break him down before he gets later, and he's still got that kind of steam. But, there's so many components that make a champion. There's so many components that make a great, a legend. It's just so much to go into.
And Froch wasn't shy about explaining why. He thinks the decline in Canelo's performances is becoming harder to ignore, especially after that most recent bout. Canelo is past his best altogether? He didn't look good in that last fight, he said, calling attention to what he sees as a drop in sharpness and hunger. He's not motivated against fighters like that, running and keeping out of the way. Why would he walk into shots if he's winning on points? He wants an easy night's work. Froch's words point toward a fighter who might be more focused on preservation than performance now, not lacking in ability, but perhaps coasting through certain fights rather than pushing the limit.
He hopes you don't run. And Turkey has a knockout bonus in this fight. And there seems to be something out there like the way for you to win this fight is to move. Is that true?
Listen.
Turkey, you need to put a small ring, the smaller ring in the...
The only...
Later in the same interview, Froch doubled down on that idea. Canelo is past his best. He's had over 60 fights, made a fortune. Why is he even still fighting? But this is a super fight against Crawford, and it could go wrong for him. In Froch's view, the motivation for Canelo to take big risks may no longer be there, especially when the legacy and the earnings have already been secured.
I'm going with Terence Crawford, big weight jump, a dangerous fight, but somebody's got to prove to me that they can break Terence Crawford's will and that he can't figure it out against you. It ain't no disrespect toward Canelo, but I've said this the last couple of years, I'm not betting against Terence Crawford against nobody right now. You got to show me that you can beat him.
He could end up losing it. But whoever loses, it'll be upset because of the amount of people that think Crawford's gonna win, and Crawford's certainly unbelievable, bad boy fighter, proper good fighter, hard, tough nut to crack, real strong mindset. Even while praising Crawford, Froch gave Canelo his due, calling him a student of the game and someone who has fought everyone there is to fight. Then you've got Canelo, who just understands the game inside and out. He's been in the ring with everybody.
And here's the thing. A lot of people don't understand what Terence Crawford's, what a big part of his number one asset is. Do you know he has a 74-inch reach? Floyd Mayweather has a 73-inch reach. Okay? They're able to reach their opponents much easier than other fighters. Their arms are extremely long. This is why Terence Crawford, in my opinion, is
That same thought was echoed in a different way by Teddy Atlas. Speaking on his YouTube show, the longtime trainer and commentator gave his assessment of the matchup, pointing out that even though Canelo has an impressive resume and presence in the ring, he thinks Crawford has a rare kind of greatness. Canelo is really good, but I think Crawford is special, Atlas said. He acknowledged the criticisms of Crawford's resume, but argued that the intangible qualities matter just as much, if not more. I know he hasn't fought the resume everyone wants, but you have that or you don't have that ingredient, and I think he has it.
I go back and forwards, to be honest with you. Like, when I talk to Bud, I kind of like, he convinces me that he's going to win the fight because he's such a believer in his own ability, and he's very convincing. And then you see the presser yesterday, and I thought Canelo looked really well. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, he's a big lump, so I was always Canelo, then I sort of leant towards Bud, but now I'm back with Canelo, so we'll see.
Atlas also raised the possibility that Canelo might not be as untouchable as some believe. Canelo is really good, he's tremendous, but could he be a tiny bit overrated? He asked. For Atlas, Crawford's strength isn't just physical. The greatness is within Crawford. It's in his desire, it's in his mind, it's in his makeup, where he came from. I know he's moving up in weight classes, can he carry it? You know, but those intangibles, I believe that he has them. His tone wasn't dismissive of Canelo, but more a cautious reminder not to underestimate how deep Crawford's determination runs.
The only thing I see that I favor Canelo is that, you know, his weight.
Yeah.
And that he's more bigger. You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing. But as far as skill set wise, IQ, I feel like Crawford can match anybody and probably do way better. You know what I'm saying? But you know, Crawford is a legend, bro.
Yeah.
You know, and like I said, you can't.
Sergio Mora also weighed in on the matchup recently, offering yet another nuanced view. For Mora, the old boxing adage that a great big man beats a great small man doesn't apply as cleanly here. For a long time I kept saying, a great big man will beat a great small man. That's just how it is in boxing. But after Canelo's last performance, he struggled against a guy in cutting off the ring, Mora said. It's not just about size in his mind, it's about current sharpness and what's left in the tank after so many years of fighting. Canelo has lost a step. Let's keep it real. He's a man over 65 fights. He's been fighting professionally since he was 15 years old. There's wear and tear, there's injury. He can turn old overnight.
I don't have to have enough power to hurt him. I just got to beat him. That's it. If he slip up, then, you know, he will get hurt.
Time to go to work.
Interestingly, Mora pointed out something not often mentioned. Crawford, though older than Canelo on paper, may actually be fresher. Believe it or not, he is younger than Crawford, but Crawford doesn't have those miles. In his eyes, Crawford may have the kind of physical and mental freshness that Canelo is beginning to lack. Mora added that Crawford has been bulking up smartly, not just gaining mass for the sake of it. He's just a mean dude. He's been bulking up nicely, doing it the right way. He looks bigger. He looks bigger than Canelo as far as the height, the shoulders. Mora's observation speaks to the idea that Crawford isn't just moving up in weight, he's reshaping himself for the challenge ahead.
You know what I'm saying? Because what all these streamers and these other YouTube guys, they didn't turn boxing into it's like a comedian show. It's just putting anybody in the ring. So Crawford and Canelo, good thing that fight is coming, because it's kind of put some kind of legitimacy back to boxing. Would you ever think a few years ago you would see a Charleston?
As for how he sees the fight playing out, Mora said, "I think it's a decision-type fight, and I don't think Canelo leaves unscathed. He's gonna leave a little bruised and beat up, but he'll still win the decision." So while he gives Crawford credit for bringing the fight and causing damage, Mora stops just short of predicting the upset. He sees Canelo doing enough to get the nod, but not without a fight that could change both men's trajectories going forward. Then there's Andre Ward, who's also been vocal about the fight now that it's official. Ward hasn't been one to jump on hype, but when it comes to Crawford, he doesn't hesitate. In an interview with Boxing News, Ward said, "I'm going with Terence Crawford. You know, big weight jump, dangerous fight. But somebody has got to prove to me that they can break Terence Crawford's will and that he can't figure it out against you." Ward is aware of the risks involved in this matchup, especially the physical toll of jumping multiple weight classes, but his belief in Crawford's mental and tactical edge remains firm.
When discussing Canelo versus Crawford, Garcia's breakdown isn't just about raw talent. It's about the strategic elements that could tip the scale in favor of the Mexican superstar.
Robert, what's the smart bet on Crawford-Canelo? Canelo by knockout or Canelo by decision?
Crawford by decision. And you have to bet?
Yes.
I say Canelo by decision. I've always been saying, I think Canelo at the end, obviously his strength, his weight,
experience,
probably takes over.
Garcia's analysis makes it clear.
And Ward didn't hedge his bet either. It ain't no disrespect to Canelo, but I've said this the last couple. I am not betting against Terence Crawford against anybody right now. You've got to show me that you can beat him. For Ward, this isn't about who has the more decorated resume or who's fought at the higher weights longer. It's about who can solve the puzzle that is Crawford, and until someone does, Ward is sticking with him.